A fun fact about sex education is sex education starts as early as the age of...
I got my lumps first. I didn't get a bra first.
Umekuwa mwanamke, you know how to write letters, you know, such things.
They're not asking whether I have a boyfriend or I care to have one. So I got myself one.
My mom ali notice I am so into this thing. So nikanunuliwa bra.
Hey, Wangeshi, anaonaga the golden lady.
Yeah. Aki, Wangeshi. Hi guys, welcome to another episode of Space Yako, the podcast, your online safe space, guys. If you're new here, you're welcome. Remember to like, share, and subscribe to our online spaces. Welcome and welcome back again. You know the drill as always. If you've not watched our sex ed, it is episode 10 of season 1. Go watch it. Because most of the conversation that we are going to have today is one of those conversations that we say very, very uncomfortable. But before we get into that, as usual, I'm your host, Marlene, with my fellow co-hosts.
I am your host, Gladwell.
Hello, Naitweshiko.
And guys, in studio today, we have a parent. And we are going to share a lot of intimate conversations. Please introduce yourself, Wambo.
Hi guys, my name is Wamboi Mbuthia. I'm a mom to a preteen. My daughter is turning 13 in a few months. I'm a writer, I'm a reporter, climate and sustainability. I do customer support. That's actually my main field. I'm also a hotelier in training and practice. So that's Wamboi.
You do everything.
Unafanya hizi vitu zote saa ngapi, Wamboi?
Nafanya tu, I manage.
Ama zote ni part time?
No, 2 of them are full time. I do customer support at Nation Media Group full time, and I also do full time writing for Nation Media Group as well, and part time writing for a few others.
Okay.
Yes, and I'm also a full time mom.
Yeah. Hiyo hainanga mchezo.
That is really
Hiyo hainanga
beautiful.
mchezo.
Guys, so you can already see the conversation is starting to get a little bit intimate. But before we get into it, please, guys, remember we are not experts. Today, we don't have any expert on our set. We're just going to share our personal experiences and also some of the views and thoughts that we have around sex ed. So if you have any question, we have a very cool chatbot again. Remember to interact with us at www.wazi.ke. That is WAZZI.ke. To get into the conversation, Gladwell, our space spice?
Yes, Niko ready. Niko ready with our space spice for today. So for the space spice segment, yellow ni very interesting because si kitu ambayo ina happen in Kenya. We should change. Higher. Here it is. So a fun fact about sex education is that in the Netherlands, sex education starts as early as the age of 4 years old. It's integrated into broader lessons about respect, relationships, and body autonomy. So this early start and comprehensive approach is credited with contributing to the low teen pregnancy rates and higher overall sexual health and awareness among the Dutch teens. Dutch teens, like Dutch people ndo wanishi Netherlands. So these statements referenced or cited from an article from The Atlantic titled How to Teach Kids About Sex. It was published in 2017. Maoni yenu, at the age of 4, watu wanafunza sex ed Netherlands. Huku si tunafanya nini? Tunakula mawe na matope.
4. But
Imagine.
isn't 4... Okay, I don't know. Isn't 4 too young to even
No.
comprehend?
No. Kwa sababu unajua the levels to sex ed. So kama hapo si wamesema they've touched on body,
Yeah, body
Respect.
autonomy,
Yeah.
respect, consent, boundaries.
Yeah.
So, as mtu anaendelea kwa mkubwa, then that's when, it gets broader in regards to the lessons.
Yeah.
So,
Pia-
iko tu sawa.
And I feel ina depend to the kind of language that you use to your child ukimfunza about sex ed. So if it's a 4-year-old, kuna some, definitely utatumia some
Language.
bombastic terms zenye haizi comprehend. So you just watch the language depending on the age that your kid is at.
And you
So
curate
it's
the
possible.
information. Yeah, it's very possible.
Really?
Like kama
Okay.
hiyo time sasa, because I'm trying to think of a baby girl that age, at the age of 4, yeah. So unajua kama sisi madem, kwa sababu of course baby girls most of the time it's dresses, as compared to a boy hata toa tu boxer hivi. So for a girl utaanza, maybe that's the point utaanza kumwambia, don't lift up your dress.
Oh, okay.
You get?
Okay,
So
yeah.
it's not truly-
I don't know why I was overthinking
Yeah,
it.
una overthink. So it's like, no mommy, don't lift up your dress. Ujaona watoto wadogo wakicheza. Maka wait, teremsha hiyo nguo. Ama don't do. So it's, such things. Yeah, it's
okay.
just the level, meet them at their level.
That is really, really beautiful. So we are going to start our conversation, and I would just like to understand from all of us, when did you discover your body? Like, especially in the African context.
Niko na experience. I have waited for so long. Niseme. Nikiwa lower primary. It was in 2010. So my mom alirealize. At that time, I don't know kama ni peke yangu, but hizo zilikuwa tu zile enzi za you get hey, hizi vitu za supermarket, but za kitchen, like some toys. Niko na like a sufuria plastic cups you get.
Okay.
Exactly. Nilikuwa na
Yeah.
a kitchen set hivi. Niko na vitu zinakaza
Dolly.
makeup. I had an entire doll.
Yeah.
So wejua tu, during that time, I think my mom ali notice I am so into this thing. So nikanunuliwa bra.
That was in class.
I was in class 3. So nikanunuliwa bra. It was so cute. Like, it's cute. Si ati ni hizi padded. Hazikuwa padded. It's more of
A boob top.
Swimming.
But si boob top juu ilikuwanga inafungiwa huko nyuma na the two clasps that we normally have hadi sahi. So
Ama it was one of those bikini things.
Yeah, that's
ilikuwa
what I'm
inakaa hivyo.
Yeah.
Then it's
Bikini
so cute.
tops.
Iko na like some cute flowers and it was pink and purple. You get like ilikuwa too cute. So nikafunza kuvaa bra. So at least nilikuwa najua boobs are going to grow. You see, because I had a bra with me.
Yeah.
Then I was telling my mom, the bra is holding nothing. Tuweke nini? And then she used to help me. Tunafunga funga hivi ma tissues. Then tunaziweka huko ndani.
Yeah.
And then I put on like a cloth on top and then I'm like, okay, now I feel like a girl. So that was the point that I came to know about semi-body autonomy. That some point in my life, boobs
Breasts
will
will
grow.
grow.
Yeah.
Boobs will grow. And I feel like that was just a cute way of my mom letting me know that boobs will grow. Even though zilikuja ku grow later on because kuna the early bloomers, late bloomers and all. I mean,
Alafu
that's my
kuna wale
experience.
optional.
Eh,
Kushonelea.
Optional.
wengine tunaruka syllabus.
Ajashikanisha.
I'll be slow.
Yeah.
All right. So for me, let's go to Amboi. Because I'm trying to think of a moment that's when I realized, when I'm like way younger, because my recollection is class 7, class 8, because that is when, manake si tumesomea Mombasa day school, sawa? So, ilikuwa na ile mambo. And where our school was, it was like a few more stages, ndo matatu mali zinatansa zinarudi. Kuenda mali saa zinaenda ka unaishi Bamburi, Mtwapa, nini. Alright? So tungepanda kuanzia hapo, tuende nayo mwisho, tuzunguke na matatu. Yeah? Yani you can even board the mat, unashikia mtu mwingine space. Because hiyo line ilikuwa tu line ya mashule. So kama let's say mimi niko school X, afu najua Gladwell uko Y and Mali niko Z. So yetu ndio ya kwanza. So naenda nakubukia space, tuwazunguka na matatu, tuenda nyumbani. So hapo ndio tungeanza kubrush viatu. You know, now it's home time. You brush your shoes.
Yeah.
Mnaenda kwa washrooms, mnaosha uso na, na sabuni. Afu mwajipaka powder.
Fair. Yours was not fair.
Kuna watu sasa wa Fair and Lovely. Unajua sasa kila mtu alikuwa na klasi yake. Kulikuwa na Fair and Lovely, kulikuwa na, it's not even powder, wajipaka
Poda.
ile ya watoto. You're just so white and it's so exciting to you. Umejaza Vaseline kwa lips and unaenda sasa kama kuna mtu akona perfume. Kulikuwa, we had this Miss, guys, do you remember Miss? She's Miss la 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 la, she's so different. It used to be a whole thing. You see, it's like the Fars right now, or the Niveas or the Doves. So Miss, like kama ulikuwa na Miss, Wambui, right?
Yeah, I remember Miss.
Ulijipaka Miss?
Yeah.
Ulijipaka?
Yeah, I remember.
Yeah,
I used to have a special liking for the purple one.
Oh, there was purple, there was yellow. So hizo ndo tungejipaka. So unaenda sasa unasimama unangoja matatu like hii haina music. Hii haibanji. Hii mkebe. It was a whole thing, eh? But you see now that is realization of
Yeah.
sawa nimekuwa sahi, I need to present myself in a certain way. Unaona? Paka ni una mind kama kiatu ni chafu unataka kubrush. You know, like your face as well. Unataka, unajua kama utajipaka your Fine Lovely, kama utajipaka the powder and everything else. And marashi, so you also want to smell good. So it was more of coming of age. So unajitafuta.
Nice.
Walianza skincare mapema.
Right? Na kipande na Fine Lovely na powder. Powder. Na powder.
Yes, Wambui.
Yeah.
When did that happen to you?
So I also don't remember a particular time it happened. Sometimes I feel like I'm still in the self-discovery journey.
Yeah.
But I also remember when she talked about your bra story, I remembered my story with boobs. I got my lumps first. I didn't get a bra first. I got my lumps first.
Lumps?
And the boobs, when they started growing.
Oh, they're
lumps.
lumps.
So I'm curious because I'm touching and wondering why are they there? I know I see women around walking with theirs, but I expected to grow a full set. You see, I don't know. So I went to my elder sister, and I still talk to her about it today. I went to her and told her there's something here and here, and I feel when I touch it's a
Were
bit
they painful?
Yeah.
Yes.
So that was the
Yes.
concern actually. I thought first of all my worry is I was supposed to get a full set. Getting why are not
Why is it not the premier version?
you see?
Yeah.
And then
Mapema.
why are they painful to touch? So I went to her. She doesn't want to touch. She knows what is happening. Alafu ananiambia we, I think utaenda tu kwa mom. So I went to mom and mom says, the first thing she says, ndio uanze kuongea na vijana. So that's when I knew that okay, something is happening that will not happen to the boys.
Yeah.
And let's say that is just one of the incidents. I also remember now the conversation. I grew up in the village, so most of our play was we all had out our cows and goats and sheep and grades, so from our homesteads. And unfortunately we only sisters. My siblings are all sisters. So from our neighbors, they would send the boys out, but then my mom and dad would send us
The
out.
girls.
So the caution was msichanganye mbuzi zetu na watu wengine. But at some point tukienda huko nje tutachanganyika. Especially during the harvest time. During the harvest time, when the fields are open, we can all graze. So we drive them to one field. Alafu tunakaa huko mwisho, everybody tunacheza. Would only have someone looking out for my mom. Ndio asipate tumechanganyika na watu
Mbuzi.
wengine. So at that point, we didn't have boys and girls. We'd all play. You'd actually see the excitement. Tukitoa mambuzi, tukimbiza zetu pia.
Yeah.
You'd know it's a whole day of play. But then along the way, my mom starts saying, don't as much as you play with the others, don't play with the boys. And then that's when we start talking amongst ourselves that so maybe something different is happening to them.
us now.
So the boobs, the going out, playing out with the boys, cha mama cha baba huko nje kicheza kwa. Yeah. So that was fun. That was a highlight for us back then, because that's the only thing we knew for fun. So but self-discovery, body anatomy, body what? Yeah. It's not a one-time thing. It doesn't hit you once. At least for me, it didn't hit me once.
Yeah.
It's been continuous.
It is.
But the boob story, was
It
a highlight.
happened.
It happened. But I finally grew mine, so we are good.
It's really interesting.
Ulipata the pro version. Pro
Nilipata
max.
finally.
Kwani before alikuwa amepata gani Aisha?
Trial version.
I was worried about it actually because I think I missed the bit where I didn't see other girls having theirs. So in my head I thought if I'm going to get boobs, I'm going to get like what other big women have. Yeah, so it was a point of concern for me.
Yani you were sleeping. Okay,
How old
anyway.
were you at the time?
It makes sense.
That was about 8, 9.
Okay.
Yeah, 8, 9.
Makes sense.
Makes sense.
It's really interesting how we all come to discover ourselves. And I can
Yeah.
relate to your man and your boobs. So mine is different because me, I wanted them because everyone else wanted. Again, I'll just repeat this, but I've said this before. As we used to use Kifegoroto,
Ni nini hiyo?
What is that? Ya
ile
maembe?
ya maembe ama ya avocado.
Ni nini
You take
hiyo?
and then you
The
see
seed.
the seed
Seed ya maembe ama
ndio inaitwa
avocado.
kifegoroto.
Inaitwa
And then
kifego.
kifego, yeah. And then you see now our market had those cheap bras, especially hizo swimming costumes. So you
Yeah.
buy and then you put them and then you
Afu
tie,
unavaa.
unafunga na nguvu isitoke.
Afu watembea.
Yeah. But that is really interesting. So now I think we've all shared in the other episode. I just want us to shikilia kidogo, but I'm really interested to know on yours. When did we learn about sex? Because this is still a taboo in our homesteads. This is something that I don't think we are there yet in terms of speaking about it openly and like asking those curious questions that we always have. So, Gladwell tukumbushe tu, where did you learn about sex and intimacy?
Mimi ni kwa ile soap opera ya kina Storm Over Paradise.
Maximiliano.
Iyo ya kina sijui. Those people, trust you me. Tulikuwa tuna watch. I recall my brother tumeachana tu na like 3 years. So tulikuwa tu mimi na yeye. Then my mom probably nakumbuka tulikuwa tu living room tuna watch. And at any point kutakuwa na any makeout session ama those steamy sessions. Sure. Kila mtu anatoroka. It's either you pretend you did not even see what was happening. And the fact that sasa tulikuwa tunakuwa shy from like boldly watching. Lakini hata nilikuja kurealize my mom alikuwa tuanaacha tu like inaendelea kuplay but you'd see her try exactly anatuangalia. But then there was a time nilienda kwa like my uncle's place, then tulikuwa tunafuatilizia to the same, ilikuwa to the same soap opera tunafuatilizia tukiwa kwake, then it was playing. Hiyo session ikakuja alizima TV sasa si tuko hapo tunashangaa like mbona imezimwa haizimangwi, at least tunajifanyia tuoni, then tunarudi tunacheck kama hiyo session imesha tuendelea kuwatch. So let me say from that point like kuona tu hivi, at that point nilikuwa pia primary school, but saa kuendelea kujua more about it I was in high school. Najua hata nyinyi mna relate history ya soap opera ama mlikuwa live with your parents?
No, kwanza for us it was The Bold and the Beautiful. We spoke about it with Maureen.
Ati Bold and Beautiful.
Yeah.
That's my caption on my IG.
Yeah, the one for the dinner.
Yeah.
Yeah. So The Bold and Beautiful, we spoke about it na Maureen Bandari.
Yeah.
Kumbuka? Yeah. One boy unajua The Bold, si ndio? So The Bold and what else? Magazines as well. Kulikuwa na magazines. I just don't remember the name. Kulikuwa na magazines gani your time, Wambo?
I'm from the village. I might not know the magazines.
Okay.
I didn't want to cut you short, but I
Yeah.
wanted to say I know The Bold and the Beautiful from a different angle that I'll talk about when it comes to my time.
Okay. Sawa. I would like to hear that. Alafu pia
ulikuwa na buy magazines wewe ama wewe?
tulikuwa tununui magazines, but we'd always find, magazines were really a huge thing during our time. Magazines, magazeti. Of course, gazeti ungepata this information, but there were specific magazines. I just don't recall the name. If I do, I'll probably comment. Mi mwenyewe nita comment kwa hii episode hapo chini. And what else? There were novels like Mills and Boons and such romance novels. What else? And just from your peers. Because unajua kuna watu wengine walikuwa like by default exposed at a very young age.
Yeah.
Very young age. Yani ni ule mtu dem ambaye, yani for you don't even think about the length of your skirt. But yeye ameenda amefupisha, ameenda ametighten,
Yeah.
You're like, okay. Yeah, those are no things that are on your mind at that time. I think kwa sababu, of course, when you're just being a child in that moment, but there are people, like, you can agree with me, ambao they were just exposed at a very young age, yet we are all peers. Yeah, mambo kama hayo.
And now, like you had started to mention, I think also the experiences and the exposure is different because we all grew, I'm assuming, in the urban settings of the country. And you said you're from the village. So let us know, how did you get to know about sex and intimacy?
A lot of it was guesswork.
Guesswork?
Yes, because we didn't have people back then. I don't know if we have people back in the village who are talking about it, but then it used to be hush. So we knew from guesses, from the way you could hear parents speak about someone who was seen talking to a boy. So you'd actually see...
it sounds like a whole lot of drama.
It is. Trust me, it is. Looking back at it, I laugh a lot.
I would just say that in Cuke. Like a scenario where someone was found with a bone.
Now
How
I'll
would
try
it sound
to do
from
the
the
best
Kikuyu?
impression.
Please. Because I'm sure there are people who relate.
Because
Ngoja tuambie.
because you'd see the women in the evening
Yeah.
passing by, you see it's the rush hour preparing dinner and everything.
Yeah.
So some woman would pass by alafu anasema, hey, unaona msichana wa nani? I'll say it in Kikuyu. Wangeshi amesemekana amepatikana na so and so.
Yeah.
So you're wondering what did they do?
Yeah.
Because what were they found doing? Because I've been with Wangeshi before and we didn't kill anyone.
Sijamuona.
So, and then you'd see it, they would speak like it was something huge, like bombing the president or something.
Eh.
Because the person who would get the news and react like, ha.
Yeah. Just do it in Kikuyu. Ever do it in Kuku, Ambo?
I'll use Wangeshi again.
Okay.
Not any specific Wangeshi.
Yeah, because I'm sure kuna mtu unaona kama vile Mali anasema sisi tume grow up in the urban setting, yeah? So I'm sure from her experience that it's totally different. If she says it in Kuk, someone else who grew up
Is going to relate.
sana.
So,
let's have it.
you'll come, you'll watch a woman walk to my mom. Jioni, especially Jioni is when we used to do the rumors.
Yeah,
and they would
rumor
accuse,
mongering.
so she'll come and say and talk just the basics. Meshinda aje, how is everything? And then she would move closer. And then they would start with the name first. I think even right now when we serve the chai, we start with your name.
Yeah.
So I'll go and say Gladwell. And then when they say that, you'll say So the woman comes, they talk about the basic stuff. Shule zinafungwa siku gani? Then Wageshire.
Eh.
Wageshire.
Hebu siki.
So Wageshire. Then the other one would say, aronirwo na karanja. That means alipatikana na karanja.
Yeah.
So and then they would move closer. You wouldn't hear the rest of it.
Yeah.
Then they would murmur for a while. They would
And then
look
you see the
worried.
claps.
Look worried.
Ni mahe.
That so
Yeah.
we used to be left curious. I was particularly left curious because I know Karanja and I know Wangeshi.
Yeah.
What is it that they did? And then you'd go to school the same rumors, because if I hear my mom talking about Wangeshi and Karanja, definitely the woman who brought the news home
Spread it. Mwingine.
so the following day at school, and the schools back then, everybody knew everyone else.
Yeah.
We are all from the same village. We go to
Yeah.
the same church.
Yeah.
We graze our livestock together. Tunajuana. So I'll go and I'll want to know, do you know about Wangeshi and Karanja? And then someone else would say, mamake alisema, so and so told my mom this and this. But no one exactly said what was
Nini.
happening. So, but I noticed the pattern. It's always a boy and a girl. Hizi udaku zenye tunapiga kabisa zinaka intimate, it's always a boy and a girl. And then now coming back to The Bold and the Beautiful, we didn't have TVs growing up in the village. Very few people. I remember a graduation I attended in 1996, and we had to spend over. We had to spend a night kwa the graduate. So wakaweka TV, Great Wall. We didn't sleep. We were so excited because alafu sasa wanaweka, it was news, and then it was black and white yenye ilikuwa na some colored papers kwa corners. I don't know if you've
And
seen
the
that.
knobs.
Yeah. So that for me was exciting, because how do they have this in the house?
Yeah.
That's why I'm to date I still remember it was 1996, because it was a good thing for me that day. So we didn't have TV, but the few people who had walikuwa najua Bold and the Beautiful. So again at school it used to be Wangeshi anaonanga The Bold and the Beautiful.
Wangeshi.
So that would be,
Wangeshi did the most.
so we didn't know what The Bold and the Beautiful was about, because I never watched that. But nikisikia umewatch, it was so scandalous, like how unawezaje watch The Bold and the Beautiful.
Like porn.
So Wangeshi is watching The Bold.
It's like
It's being found by
umeharibika.
Karanja.
Yeah, you're following the ways of the world. Unawezaje watch The Bold and the Beautiful.
Yeah, I get it
So
now.
we used to talk about it like, so when you mentioned, I remember because I was telling my daughter the other day about, I was joking, I joke a lot about our days and your days. So I'm telling her, hiyo ni TV unaona hivi na sisi Bold and the Beautiful tulikuwa nasikia tukiwa shule. And she's like, what is The Bold and the Beautiful? So I'm telling her what I used to see people
During
talking
your
about
time.
it, how I used to see people talking about it. And when I came later to realize it was a soap, niko like,
Surely, auntie.
yeah, because we would actually view people who kwa wanakubalianga waone like
Hey, ulikuwa unakaa promiscuous.
Umepotoka mada.
And you're only 13 watching. Yeah.
So how I came to know about sex was a lot of trying to now find out why exactly is it that when we find these boys and girls together, there's always a story. And then there was a lot of pregnancies in our school. And then because we came from the same village, you'd know that someone is pregnant because at the village everyone is talking about it in school, at church. There's a lady I remember got paged at, I think she was in class 6, and everybody at school is talking about it even before it could show. And then she's uncomfortable at school. The teachers are pointing. Everybody's talking about it. So. And when people caution you, now the parents caution you, they don't say exactly what she did. So you don't know what she did. You only know she's going to have a child. She might not finish school, or maybe she will, but you don't know. You're too young, but you know there's something huge around it. That to me was it.
This is interesting. That's really
that was it.
And so sad, huh?
Yeah.
It's so
It is
sad.
I don't know. We moved, but I don't know whether that's still the case. But if it is still the case, it is sad because now looking at it, I see how much we missed and how much we tiptoed around that could have been stopped. I remember even periods at school, we didn't talk about them. So some day, some girl soiled her tunic dress, and then everybody was in class. Alikuwa nakani kama akona leprosy huko peke yake because. Hata sisi, we are not reacting that way because we want to shine her. So because we can't understand, and then the boys are laughing, so you don't know, you don't want to be laughed at. Jumeonekana na yeye. So even going home, I asked my mom. My mom was a teacher in that school, and I asked her, so and so alifanya hivi, anasambia hizo vitu tutaongea baadaye. So you're thinking there must be something that is going on. She's not sick, but why is it not happening to me, basi? You see, So a lot of it, I think the urban setting and the village setting was different.
Yeah.
Not really, because utoto ni utoto too at the end of the day. But we also have, personally I also have stories of, primary school or even high school, at least watu ndo wanaanza kuwa mature kidogo and a bit open with conversations, and because it was a girls school, so haikuwa na shida, yani sana mtu kujisoil. But see, primary, it's so childish where like when your boobs start growing, mtu anaanza kucheka, matiti yako anaanza kukua. You get like primary school, there's just a lot of course bado watu ni watoto, but the period shaming was heavily there, and as much as for us it was a girls school peke yake. Yani ungecheck, unajua, so it's, but looking at it, see watoto ambao tulikuwa na shida, it's just a lack of information. And kama vile unasema, like for you to ask your mom, alafu angekuambia tutaongea baadaye. You see, like these are conversations that from an early age inafaa kwa hapo, like ukiona mwenzako, manake sahii mmekuwa teens, ukiona kama mmeanza kupata period sahii, ishike kwa nguo, msaidie hivi na hivi, you also, in as much as you teach your child, you also teach them how to take care of the girls around them when so and so something happens, ama mpatie sweater jifunge, you get.
Imagine, I actually think it's different the way she's saying, because because I feel like the drive is different. First, you tiptoed as we had an idea, like you will see at least they were doing it under the blanket, but if you put 2 + 2, you will at least get close to that. But then for you it was like, hey, I just know why is this, so you will fill in your own thoughts also. So that is really also interesting. And like Aisha is saying, it's like that limited information, and then the assumption that young people don't know. I like in the other episode I said, for me, we wouldn't talk about it, but with my friends I was the loudest to tell them what I knew. So you see, so the difference is my reference point was wrong because it was like from fellow old, a bit young people that I was hanging out with. But now what I was telling them was not the right hand information. It was me twisting it and wanting to look cool with my other friends. And I'm like, you people don't know about this and this and this. Yeah. So I think also the exposure we get is different, and that makes us react differently in all wrong ways. So maybe to let us know, you got pregnant while young. We want to understand what that looked like for you, and if you were still in the village, and you've given us an example of how the treatment was when that happens, and the fact that there was no information in that. It was just like, don't be like Nani, don't be like Nani. So how was it for you in that moment, and not really how you got pregnant. I hope you're understanding. It's like
journey.
the environment around that and you being pregnant young. And maybe if you're comfortable sharing how your parents responded to that. Yeah.
Okay, my pregnancy came at a very interesting time. I just finished college because we went to school early at home. My mom made sure that we went to school early. So I got to college. I went to Kenya Utalii College at first before I got my ID. I got my ID close to graduation. So then after Utalii, I got my first job at Nakuru. So I left the village. So Nakuru, I just... and my parents again were moving from the village at around the same time, moving to an urban place. So Nakuru, I got my first job. Very, very free. My parents are not asking where I am. They're not asking whether I have a boyfriend or I care to have one. So I got myself one.
You saw an opportunity.
It's like you ordered. It's like you ordered somewhere and it was
It's
delivered.
like that thing that you're waiting to
Wait.
have. And you couldn't have because your parents were breathing down your neck. So right now, I'm going to get myself one. So I hooked up with someone who is younger than me, who was and is still younger than I. And so when I first realized I was pregnant, we didn't know what to do. And I didn't know. And I'm lucky I had a very, very easy pregnancy. I've seen people struggle with theirs and I'm like, I was lucky. I didn't know until I think the second month. And it's because a woman at job said, na unakula maembe sana.
You were craving mangoes.
Yes, I had a craving for mangoes, but I thought they were in season, so so every time at work I'll go, nenda nje wacha nikutume maembe. Nenda nje wacha nikutume maembe. So my colleague says, "No, vile unakula maembe, uko sawa?" And I'm like, "Yeah." She says, "I think you're paged." At that point, I got a job at Nanyuki, the place where I did my internship during college. Called me, did you finish school? Yeah. So would you mind coming and working for us? So in the process of transitioning, so the woman mentioned that I could be paged. I didn't pay attention to it because I cannot be pregnant. How? You see? So I didn't. My first reaction was to laugh and forget. I totally forgot about it. So yeah, I totally forgot about it. And then now the news about getting the job overtook everything. So I worked on moving to Nanyuki. I went. Moved with my boyfriend to Nanyuki. We went and after, I think that was in April. My daughter was born in November. So in April, now I'm beginning to remember. I haven't had my periods for a while. So I called a friend of a friend. I called a friend who knew a friend who had gotten a baby and asked, how do you know if you're pregnant? She says, you go to the chemist and buy a tester.
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm shy, I can't do that. She says, now you have to get one. So I didn't even know how cheap they were. So finally,
How much
was
was
that?
that?
They were
30 bob.
Yeah, I bought two. I bought two and I didn't know how to use. So read the instructions. At the back of my mind, I'm only doing this ndio niacha kushanga mbona sina peas. And because I now remember the woman from Nakuru saying, unaweza kuwa uko na mimba wewe. So I bought and I wasn't, even on the way to buying, I bought other things. I wasn't really worried.
Does your boyfriend know about this, sorry? Does your boyfriend know about you buying the kits and...
Yes,
okay.
Because you remember he bought with me from Nakuru to Nanyuki.
Yeah.
So he's
Together.
So I'm working. The hotel that I was working in was providing us with accommodation. We used to stay in the lodges, in the staff quarters. So he was with me, and when I told him, someone says tunafaa tununue. He said okay. So I came home with them, and we are reading. They are both positive, and we moved. We didn't talk about it.
It didn't hit you that you're really pregnant?
It didn't hit me. Sometimes I wonder if that is how it happens for others, because it didn't hit me. I wasn't worried at any given time. So
That's nice.
after the tests ran positive, both of them, we didn't talk about it. I moved on with life. I think a week later, I called my sister. My sister is a nurse. The elder sister is a nurse. She was still a nurse at that time. I called her and told her. Started my story from a long way.
Yeah.
Again, we are still
before you say.
Yeah.
So nikiwa Nakuru nilipata na huyu mtu. Then she knew my colleague Lydia alisema naweza kuwa na mimba.
Lydia ni
The colleague.
Lydia alinona nakula maembe sana. Alafu Lydia akauliza.
On the other end, she's like, I think she knew where it was going, but she just needed to give me time. And then we are very close. My sisters and I are very close. Like I said, we are the only siblings. There's three of us. I'm in the middle. So there's a difference of 2 years between us. So
Both.
it's so
Yeah,
easy.
exactly.
Yeah.
Okay.
In the middle, 2 years later there's another, 2 years before there's another. So we are close and we talk a lot. So she's on the other end, and I always imagine her laughing and smiling. She's so Lydia alisema hivi na hivi na then and then nilikuja na Nyuki nikapigia Magi akasema ninunue test ulinunua alafu zinaleta line 2 zote, so she says na huyu mtu anakuru ni nani? Tuko na yeye hapa. Mnataka aje? Hatujui. So to cut the story short, we disagreed with my boyfriend. Like I said, we were still young. I was 19, he was 18. So you can imagine we cannot even have a conversation. We are still babies.
Yeah.
We cannot talk about having babies. So we had a disagreement that still remains to date. And he left. He actually left while I was at work. I came back to the house and he wasn't there. I think sometimes I make a joke and say, hata kama ni mimi ningeweza kutorokea mimba ningetoroka. I feel like he ran. I should have also been able to run, but I couldn't. I don't blame him. We were still babies. Kama hata mimi ningeweza kuweka chini na ni help. So I totally understand. So he left. I carried on. Unfortunately, the hospitality industry was not doing well at that time. So they had to let some people go, especially the hotel I was working for. So they said, last in, first out. So I was the last person in. So it affected me. They called me, they told me this and this. I came home. My parents had, and I thank God for that, they had moved from the village and were now in an urban center where we didn't know many people.
So news couldn't spread.
And I didn't have to meet the people I knew from before.
So wale watu wa Rumamunga Ringwa jioni hawangi.
I was that lucky. I don't know how I would have survived. And I don't even worry more about me than my mom, because what would have people in the village said about her? Because remember, she's among the people who unajua wako na group yao ya mama wenye wasemanga. So putting her in that situation would not be good. So I feel that we were lucky. I came back to a different place. So she was still learning the new people there. People didn't know me. So I just came to the house. Stayed for, that was, now they fired me in May, at the end of May. So came in June. Then my sister says, no, huwezi kaa home. Move with us to where she was staying. She took care of me. I wasn't worried. I used to miss clinics because again, sikuwa najua. I think when I say I had a very easy pregnancy, I say pia Mungu alinihurumia sana. He saw the arrogance and ignorance I had and said, wacha tumpatie an easy time. Because I used to miss I used to forget that I'm pregnant. I used to forget totally. I used to forget. I used to just leave. My sister is one would say, "Ai, na umeka kitabu yako ya clinic iko wapi?" And I'm like, you're supposed to go for this and this, and I'm like, okay, sawa. But at that point, I didn't even know whether I was carrying a boy or a girl. I didn't care to check. So, but I knew I would love them. That's what I say. To date, I say, that's the only thing I remember during my pregnancy. Nikipata mtoi, tutaona vile kutaenda. So, it wasn't a hard time for me. I didn't have to explain anything, but I know things would have been different if I had to go back to the village. Because again, I would have to hide from a lot of people. I would have been an example they would point to. Huyu alienda na amerudi na mimba. Because I can actually see them. I've heard them so many times say that. So I can only imagine what they would say. Alienda shule na amerudi na mimba. It was something so I could picture that conversation. So that's how it was. So for my parents, I said I didn't tell them. I sent my sister to tell them. Sitaambia kina mam.
Kwani ni salamu unatumana? Akina wenda wasali.
So after I told her, they turned up positive and she asked, what's your plan? I said, tutaona vile kutaenda. And towards the end I tell her, nawaambia sitaambia kina mam. Then she told them, they were calm about it. I think they were shook. They were disappointed. I would be disappointed. But then they said, they asked the usual question. People from my side ask, na baba ni nani? What does he say about that? And there was some drama because that he kept calling my mom saying, mko na mzigo yangu. Then my mom is saying, mzigo gani?
But because of mom, but then but he has your mom's number and he was calling.
Because when we were living together in Nakuru, I made the mistake of calling my mom through his number. You see, I was doing a lot of things out of ignorance. So for me, even living with him in Nakuru was not a big deal. Even moving with him to my
Nanyuki,
workplace,
yeah.
it was not a big deal. I couldn't even shy from saying about Tuli and Nanyuki. Like,
Yeah.
why are you guys together?
Yeah.
We can't. I try to look at why we were together. I can't tell, but things happened that way. So after especially when I was fired, I stopped picking his calls, drama kidogo, and then now that's when he reaches out to my mom. First of all, he has to introduce himself. Mimi ni so and so, natoka Nakuru na natafuta mzigo yangu. Then my mom says, "Oh, mzigo." So the whole conversation. So my mom is so calm about it and says, "Kama iko utatuambia pali tuko tutakupatianishia." So
Let me understand something. Yeah. This is
Why are
really-
these things being explained
Yeah.
like this?
I'm like, it was so easy for you. And it's like, I just want to say that you had a support system
Yeah.
Yes.
and an understanding family.
Very.
That's what I would say. Because I'm sitting here trying to imagine with the kind of environment that you're from, especially from the village, and the way things were handled, if it could be the same story, probably not. So I really wish, not even on your parents, I really wish parents had some basic information on reproductive health and sexual and reproductive health. Because in the end of the day, like we said last time, it's not about having sex. It's about, because I'll feel secure with my parents and when I'm around them, but when I'm out there and exposed to all these things and have all this freedom, my curiosities will lead me to wherever they lead me. So without the information, I won't be able to make the right decisions. So when do we feel like sex, especially sex information, should be talked about?
Say as the people who are
So-
giving out the information, ama to the people who are receiving the information.
Either way, because you can want to give the information, but the people are not open to it. So when are this information?
Haya, mimi sijui ni watu wa gani, but I'll talk about it from an angle as a parent. And I'll go back to your first point.
Okay.
When you said about Netherlands and 4-year-olds, unajua, these talks, only that tujui, that is, you can term it as sex education, but we always are given these particular different kind of information from a young age. Because utambiwa, these are your private parts, right?
Oh yeah.
Don't let people touch them.
Yeah.
So wa inakuwa mtu asikuguse. Unajua tunaambiwa tu, don't let people touch you. But then what I do with my child is like, also pia wewe, don't let anyone tell them to touch them. Unaelewa? Because si tu wewe kushikwa, but someone else can tell you, ebu nishike, touch me here. They can, they can guide you to the wrong things.
Yeah.
So si wewe peke yako usishikwe, but also tell, and please don't, mtu asikwambie pia umshike huku. The same way, these are your private parts, pia hizi ni za mtu mwingine, so usishikwe na mtu asikwambie umshike. All right, so this information, it's always relayed to us from a very young age when you think about it. Kama the example I had given, like mtoto wa kisichana anacheza ameinua nguo. No, and you're told to cover yourself. Yeah, so we've always had it from a very young age, only that you cannot term it now ati, leo basi nimeongea na, I had a sex education with my child, nimemwambia mtu asikushike na usishike mtu. But it's always been there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Mi nakumbuka there were these funny terms that tulikuwa tunatumia refer to our private parts. So like instead of calling the vagina a vagina, there was a term. Sijui niseme, tulikuwa tutasema bobo. Man, right now it's funny in my head because I know like
Wamboi is bobo.
Wamboi is bobo.
Yeah.
So for the longest time, nikipatana na any Wamboi, nasikia kitu bobo. Kongo ilikuwa very weird because I'm like, that term tumetumia kurefer to a private part. Yeah, the lady. So like the vagina tulikuwa tunaita bobo. Kila mtu. And mind you, where I grew up, tulikuwa like community zote. Like every
all
community. Lawyers, sote na tuko na that one common term for it. So naweza sema pia I was young at the time. Na the fact that tulikuwa tutumia such terms maybe to refer to the private parts. By now, ama in this kind of era, generation yenye tuko, tunafaa to normalize just calling the private
them.
parts
Yeah, as they
their
are.
own names.
Yeah.
Like kama inaitwa vagina,
It's a
unasema tu
vagina.
Yeah.
I was on TikTok. I am always on TikTok. Actually, mnifollow TikTok. So nilikuwa tu TikTok, I was scrolling as I normally do. Then nikakuja across a video. Yeah, a toddler, just a toddler. Definitely need some people from the States.
Okay.
And the mom was in the washroom. Then kids wanakuwa na this tabia ya
Ya
wanaingia
kufuata
washroom.
mzazi. Yeah, they
ukiwa
do.
washroom. They'll
Yeah.
just come in. And then the kid was asking the mom, like ati, Mom, are you putting this in your vagina? I think alikuwa amebeba like
A tampon.
Si tampon, ilikuwa to like sanitary towels. So anamuuliza, are you putting this in your vagina? So the fact that I was shocked because huyo mtoto anakaa maybe tuseme 2 years. I think 2 years. But the fact that anaweza
Anajua.
sema like
it
inaitwa
goes
vagina, I
somewhere
was like,
down
okay,
there.
this is good. Definitely ukienda kwa comment section utapata wale watu wa like, you're such a good mom, you're teaching your kids sijui vizuri. Then bado kutakuwa na wale watu wa
Yes.
mbona huyo mtoto wako at 2
Mbona
years,
anajua
anajua
vagina?
inaitwa vagina.
Yeah.
So I'm like, we're trying to deconstruct that kind of thinking that
Yeah.
ati mtoto, si ati mtoto, but our watu toddlers or infants or our watu tu wanaendelea kwa wakubwa ati wakijua the real terms of the body parts ati ni wrong, and it's such a bad thing, it's such a taboo for a kid to just know that this part of the body is known as a vagina. So I'm like, basically it should start at at that tender age. Time yenye unaanza tu kuongelesha tu mtoto wako, for the parents, when you get a kid unaanzia tu from your age.
A point of correction, let me jump quickly in.
Yeah.
So of course at a tender age, however, the information is curated according to the age ya mtoto.
Yeah, age
Kuna
appropriate.
information of course huwezi kuambia 2-year-old, a 4-year-old, ama 13-year-old, 18-year-old. So as a parent, you curate the information accordingly, according to the child.
Yeah, it's appropriate.
Emphasis on that.
Yeah. So, and also as you're responding to that, I want you to maybe tell us, who do you think has the liberty to like talk about sex? Because you see, some of us didn't grow up with our parents most of the time. We spend much time in school because they're busy working. And we don't get time even to talk to them apart from the simple mistakes that they now have to tell you can't continue doing this. So as you're responding to that also, you can mention who do you think should talk about this?
I'm going to combine the two. First of all, at what age we should start having these conversations as early as possible, because we don't have a set time for having certain conversations. The same way we're not capping talks about friendships, talk about school performance. We don't cap them. We don't say that now you're 7, it's time to talk about your math. Now you're 12, it's time to talk about your behavior. You see, we just teach it along the way. So I feel like even for sex ed, it should be progressive. Like you said, curate it to match their age. Know what to teach at what point, but we should not wait until it's too late. And now to say who should do that, I think it's a collaborative effort. I don't think we can't sit and say this is a teacher's role. We shouldn't say this is a parent. So in my opinion, I think it's collaborative. I'll do my part as a parent, try to do as much, because at the end of the day, you're the only person who has your child's interest at heart. The teachers will do what they're supposed to do because they have to take their pay at home at the end of the month. There's no specific age where you introduce sex ed. We take it, or I tend to take it like with everything else. So like I said, I don't wait until my daughter is 7 or 8 to discuss maybe how she relates with others, values like respect, talking back to others. So the same way I didn't wait for that, I shouldn't have to wait for a certain age for her to learn. So all I do is now check with other parents, check parenting forums and see what other parents are teaching their kids. Well, there's no specific place you can get reference for this, but at least I try to be in touch with other parents and see what exactly they are discussing with their kids. Because sometimes I look at my daughter and I think she's too young, and then you hear that other 12-year-olds are doing this and this, and then you say, okay, I think now I should do this. Time. So being in touch with parenting forums, being in touch with people in your community who can actually, sometimes as a parent, you have a fond eye for your child and you want to be blind to if they are doing wrong. So again, talking to the people around you in the community, like you mentioned, I have a very supportive system. So I look upon my sisters and I look upon my parents to tell me if and I've told them openly, like if my daughter's name is Tiffany. If Tiffany is not working right, just let me know. That way, that's why I call it collaborative. I cannot bring up her straight on my own. I'll depend on other people. So the same way with sex ed, I look at forums. I also encourage her teachers to talk about it to her and her peers. I don't go and tell her namfunze. I only ask once in a while, are you guys teaching this and this? How are they responding? And then now you know whether we are all on track. Like I said, there's no specific right way of doing it. But when I have my input and the community's input and the school's input, I think that will bring us closer to where we want to be.
Yeah, I think that is really important, because I also feel like one of the things that we don't have, and especially in our Kenyan settings, is the transition phase. It's like acknowledging that now this is no longer a child, they're becoming a teen, and there are some things that come with becoming a teen. Like now some of the intimate conversations they have, the chamaman chababa zinaishia huku chini, and now they start like the physical attraction happen and everything. So the reason as to why I feel like we don't have these conversations, it's because maybe it's not part of our cultures. And another thing, it's because they're kind of awkward. You see the way you have to do something for the first time. It's like eating Chinese food for the first time, and you're like, it's not something that you're used to. So then you don't know even how to register the taste for it to please you or something like that. So because these conversations are awkward in the sense that I'm just saying, how do we make them less awkward? Like, how do we frame an environment where parents or even children can approach their parents to ask some of these uncomfortable, very uncomfortable questions? And how can parents also have, let me say, a reference point to like have the transition, like, okay, now my child is growing, I need to have such conversations with them.
Yeah.
Open communication, kwa sababu unajua age, let me tell you, vile tu tunasema kama ako 8, kama ako 12, kama it's a progressive thing, eh?
Yeah.
But ukianza from a young age, depending, of course, una curate ile knowledge ambayo mnaongea. So kama at a young age, it can be consent, it can be boundaries, unaona? So it's not necessarily as you just get into the sex talk, right? So from those open conversations from an early age, and you just actively listening as a parent as well, then mtoto, as they keep on growing and they keep on changing and they keep on learning new things, even if kuna kitu ambayo ni unaona kwako ni awkward, lakini yeye atakuja atakuuliza, that's when you'll be like, okay, kwani tumefika hii age ya kujua sasa about this and this and this. But it because umebuild hii relationship, mumebuild to the point that anajua at any point anaweza kuapproach wewe kama mzazi. So only when utashtuka, you're like, okay, kwani tumefika hii age ya hii na hii na hii, like how Wambui said, like reference to other parents, like 12 years wanafundishwa hii. So itabidi mi pia, I go and talk to my daughter about it, yeah? So open communication, actively listening, and acha wewe ikushtue we mwenyewe, but tuonyeshe mtoto like, because they'll be like, kwani ni nini tena nimekuja kuuliza huko, kwani is this really a big deal? Hizo ni vitu tu unaenda kushtukanga huko mbele. Ama now when you're talking to your friends, you'll be like, hey, Nadia amekuja ameniuliza, you get, yeah. But those like kind of reactions, you just tend to ukionyesha truly.
How often, Aisha?
For me,
how often should they happen?
How often should they happen? Unajua si kitu ambao ati mwapanga sema aya leo tukikaa tutaongea kuhusu hii na hii. No. It might be labda alikuwa anacheza game ukaona kuna kitu imetokea imepop up, ama ako kwa TikTok, maana siku hizi ni watoto wa TikTok, watch kuna video imepop up and like, hey, is that really what you're watching? What do you know about this and this and this? Truly, it's not things that you plan, but they're things that happen. And as Wambui said, it's only when you're keen as a parent. That's when you pick up on things. Yeah? That's when the conversations begin. But then being open for such conversation as a parent and actively listening, sasa wow, hiyo saidia wengine. Like now the child's point of view, when now there's something wanataka kujua and they're curious about something, because you've already set the foundation and you've created the environment for them, they'll always come to you at any given time kukuuliza.
These things happen
anytime.
spontaneously.
Yeah.
Zita come up at any point, and I also feel like tunapaswa to kuwa very direct with the conversations. Vile tu amesema open communication, like kuwa too direct. If you're talking about sema as it is, shame is a social construct. Usijaribu kufanya ati ikae ni kama how am I going to put
Tuongea
this to
kesho.
my daughter?
Yeah.
Like nitamwambia unaisema vile iko, like call a spade a spade. Definitely with the correct terms juu tumeambiwa you should learn how you package the information, how you curate the information depending on the kind of audience that you have. Be it your kid who's a preteen, a kid who's maybe younger or older. Unaongea to just be direct. Na feel hakutakuwa na room for it. Anaona ni serious conversation, hata anatoa contribution.
Okay.
Unaongea.
The most important thing I would echo has sentiments is open conversations. I feel like when you can easily talk to your parent, it creates an avenue for even you to come and ask questions. If instead of tiptoeing around a subject, you can actually say someone at school said this and what did they mean and what does that mean. And how I came to learn that was a very monumental place for me. I was going to raise her up as I was raised, because as much as I left the village, there's still a villager in me. So I was going to be the parent. Just it was a one-way kind of upbringing. I was going to dictate basically I was going to dictate her life.
Her life, yeah.
But then I went back to school again to now do media, and I've met a lady in my circle who was so open with my mom. I actually felt I noticed the difference. So Miriam's mom was a school principal, but she used to spend her weekends very far away from home, where she at her college, at Miriam's college hostel. It was a hostel outside the university, but her mom would actually drop everything else. She's a principal. I didn't expect her to have that time, but she would drive all the way from home, come and spend the weekend there with Miriam and her sister. So how I came to learn about it is Miriam was talking about a boy that was trying to flirt with her, and then she says, mama aliniambia niachane naye. And I'm thinking, how does your mom know about this boy? And she says, asinilim show. And I'm thinking, okay, this is interesting. That time my daughter was around 4, so I'm wondering, okay, mbona Miriam anaambia madhake sorry za mtu mwenye ana flirt na yeye? Isn't that, I think where I come from, that is a taboo. You can't go and tell your mom you have a boyfriend. Even in my age, I can't go and tell her I have a boyfriend easily, because that avenue was not open. It's not open for most of us. So I wondered. So I sought to find out how that happens. And he said, a mom miumsho kila kitu, see, she comes. And I'm thinking, then she tells me about she has shown people even in her kwa plot yao wenye wanamkatia wanaonesha madhake, they are discussing them. Wanasema huyu achane, they have a profile on everybody. And now Miriam has a reason not to flirt with these people, not to entertain them, because her mom is coming from a very, very safe place, and she's coming from a very not protective, but she knows better for her daughter. So akimpatia information ampatia haiko filtered, it's not sugar coated, it's the right information for her. So I from that moment, I thought, I think I should create a good avenue, so that anytime Tiffany goes out and interacts with anyone, meets something that she's not comfortable with, or she's curious about, she comes and asks me. So that was the turning point for me. So I feel like having open conversations, opening that avenue, so that you're not the only person who is dictating. Let them ask as well. Let them, even sometimes I play dumb and I say, so ati wakafanya nini? So I just want to see where she is, amefika wapi.
Mentally.
So if so and so who is in your class is dating, who has a boyfriend, then she says so and so what do they do? So what do you think about that? Then now you can now tell her, now you've heard her story, and she's now open to hear what you have to say about you talking to boys and relating to them. How I was going to do it was usiongee na vijana, because that's how I knew. So lucky for me, I met Miriam and her mom, and that for me, I thought if we have more people like that, then it means we have better avenues. Calling things as they are. If you're calling a vagina, let it be that. Because if I call it bobo and she goes to school and they don't call it that, then something is lost, some information is lost.
Crazy. I think just to tap into that, my mom, like, unaona, she's always also known who we are dating together with my sister. So I think kwa sababu I'm also coming from that kind of relationship with my mom, then it's easier for me to create that with my son as well. Kama last year alikuwa ameniambia, hey, unajua ni third time nasomea KPSEA. So now I'm not in a relationship. I'm like, okay. I want to study. I'm like, okay. Okay.
Yeah.
I said, no, I don't want to date. I'm like, I can't even date. Who can I to date? So it becomes like, it's even now
Where
funny.
Aisha,
You
where
get,
to date.
yeah, I'm like, when you go to on a date.
Yeah,
So it becomes easier, right? To just have and even laugh about it because
Yeah.
really new. It's life anyway, yeah?
yeah.
Yeah.
And I think statistics and data doesn't lie. So
What do they say?
no, it's like teen pregnancy is a reality.
Yeah.
So if we don't have these conversations, we'll keep getting the same results.
Yeah.
So it's like just the same way you're saying, it's not a one-sided thing, it's collaborative. So my dream is always to see churches, schools adapt age-appropriate CSC and just take that and go with it so that we adapt it as part of our culture. So guys, if you're following the conversation, yeah, please share with us your experience. Do you talk about sex education with your parents? When was your first realization of autonomy and the fact that you're changing? Remember, if you want to ask any question, you can interact with our chatbot. And if you want to interact with us, comment down below. Follow us on Instagram at WaziKE. So, as we are wrapping up, guys, I think this has been a very interesting conversation. I would like to know, what is one advice you'll give your younger self about intimacy? Hata sisi Gladwell, kuna mali tulikuwa young. What is that advice you'll give your younger self? And then your one takeaway.
The advice I'd give to younger Gladwell is ngoja nataka kusema ama Aisha kwanza sema.
I'm also gathering my thoughts about
Wambo.
intimacy.
Wacha kwanza
Yeah,
Esther
about
tuambie.
intimacy.
Intimacy ni
Intimacy
mdogo.
yenyewe.
Yeah. It's not about like intimacy, the practical sex.
Anza.
No,
Okay,
overthink,
acha.
Aki.
Acha aanze.
Yeah,
Ebu
an advice I
advice.
would give my younger self.
Copy.
I think we are looking at it in the point of, okay, it was awkward because parents didn't want to tell us.
Yeah.
But to my younger self, I'd be like, you go ask. Like, let me not look at my friends as a reference point because we are
Yeah.
all in the same level of thinking and probably we are all finding influence from media and all that. And we know that is not filtered in any way. There's so much control that happens there and there's so much exposure that happens there. So to my younger self, I'll be like, imagine, go try ask your parents, go try ask your teacher. Like, ask someone who at least knows better because my reference point was my peers. And now that we have Wazi chatbot, if it was there then, I'll be like,
Tumia.
go ask Wazi. Yeah.
Sasa nimepata hiyo insight nilikuwa nataka. So, without overthinking and putting it as brief as possible, the younger Gladwell that I'm referring to is the Gladwell who was in high school. Gladwell, do not succumb to the pressure, the peer pressure. Because I feel like at that point, kuna a lot of people who definitely knew a lot about semi-sex ed. And mine was just based off reading smart in novels and just watching a lot
The
of
soap operas.
Yeah, hizo soap operas and maybe some kidogo kideva tunaenda to deeper things that probably I wasn't supposed to watch. But all this was stemming from your pressure. Yeah, these people seem like they know so much. Alafu I am so uncool because I don't know. I don't know these things. So in a bid to fit in, I did what I did. Yeah, grow. It's see, I'm regretting anything that I did, but I'm just saying younger Gladwell should not have succumbed to the peer pressure that was there at the time. And now I'm good. So my takeaway is, yeah, please. Wewe ukiwa a parent ama hata kama si wewe ni a parent, you're like a sibling.
guardian.
Yeah, like your sister probably has a kid or your brother has a kid. Kuwa part of that upbringing journey for the kid. If it is something you feel like you're ready to point out in order to like teach the person, the toddler, the kid, the teenager, the youth, play your part, do your part. And yeah, I guess that's my takeaway for this episode.
Bado hujafikiria?
Bado sijafikiria.
Wambo. Tell us, nani Aisha kikopi exam?
What I'll tell the younger Wamboi is that don't experiment, first of all.
Hey,
Really?
That one.
Ask.
Yeah.
Because experimenting, you might end up making mistakes,
decisions.
bad decisions. And especially if you're experimenting from hearing from your peers, you might end up experimenting on things that are not verified. So I'll echo your takeaway as well. ask people. If you're not asking your parent, ask someone. Now we have Wazi.
Yeah.
There's always someone out there who is ready to help. So first of all, talk to them. And finally, I'm also glad that we are having this conversation because it means more teens are having open avenues to discuss this and actually get their questions responded to.
Oh, that was beautiful. Aisha.
Spotlight.
Before you say, I forgot to say my takeaway. I think from just the conversation here, and I'm also looking at the other many conversations that I've seen on SRHR.
Yeah.
I think women and girls are more vulnerable to the consequences of experimenting, as you're saying. Because you remember what she said, hata mimi ningeweza kutoroka hiyo ball ningeiweka hapo na hata mimi niende, yeah? So it's like the empowerment that is happening should really, not focus, but primarily put women and girls at the center. Because the burden honestly fall heavily on us. Yeah. So my takeaway is let's acknowledge that young people are sexually active and we need to respond to that instead of like countering that and being like, no, you shouldn't. And it's okay to actually abstain. So the peer pressure that she was talking about, it's okay to abstain. Yeah. Spotlight.
Limelight.
Thank you guys so much. That's all we had today. Get the right information though. Yeah, just get the right information. And everyone's experience is different, right? Vile Gladwell amepitia, Wambo and Marlin and kila mtu jani yake first of all ni tofauti. Unaweza kusikia Marlin amesema, "Hey, sijui inakwanga hivi hapana." Ama Gladwell has told you a different story. No, and you can create your own story. There's more power in that, all right? And this only comes from having the right knowledge.
Yeah.
But you can truly choose a beautiful path for your own self.
Yeah.
And create your own story that we mwenyewe yani ndo unataka, okay? So don't listen to external influences or forces. But it's whatever you make it.
Yeah.
It's whatever you want to make it. And now, of course, kila mtu anajitakia mazuri, si ndio? So, yeah.
Guys, next time we're coming on this set, we'll have popcorn specifically for Wambo. Me, I've laughed this entire time because of her experiences. But anyway, that is all we had today. We are so excited. Let's know if you want a part 3. Yeah, this is part 2. Let's know if you want a part 3 and with Wambo on this. Yeah. Until next time, guys. Bye.
Comment down below, like, share the video.